Okay, so we got an 06 RT, hemi, and it's the 345, and it's got, so we had these have a tendency for the valve seats to pop out, and the valve seats can disintegrate and then beat shit up inside the motor, basically. So we got here is this cylinder, fine. She's good. She's good. And then, uh-oh. So what happened is one of these seats dropped out. Looks like probably the intake valve over here. Or would that be... No, I'm an idiot. The exhaust valve. And, yeah. It's, it's dropped out, and then it went around in the cylinder, of course, and beat the hell out of it. And just marred up the just valve seats, really destroy shit. They disintegrate and the pieces bounce around in the cylinder, F everything up. So right here is all beat up on the side of the head. Little tiny bits of damage in here, but not as bad, mostly on the outsides of this. And then same thing in this cylinder. Just valve seat dropped out, disintegrated, the pieces beat up the freaking cylinder on both sides. And so yeah, this driver's side head is beat. And we go over here. Same story on the cylinders. On the motor, these two cylinders in the back are good. Up here, beat up the piston. Just nice and beat up there. Over here too. This cylinder, same thing. Just beat up over here. And same thing over there. Just beat. And then the cylinder walls aren't terrible. They're definitely salvageable. So I'm just going to pull these pistons out. I think I'm just going to replace these two pistons. And we're just going to dingle ball these cylinders real quick in the car. Slap some new pistons in it. We'll put a new head on it. And that's really it. The other side, no damage. So this side checks out fine. So yeah, if you have an 06 RT, be weary. They have the tendency to drop the valve seats out and really screw shit up. So this, by the time they got to, I think the year model 2010 or 2009, they don't have this problem anymore. But this cylinder is fine, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This whole side of the motor is just great. So we're not worried about that. That cylinder head's the same story off the passenger side. And on the closer inspection, the little bit newer cars, the 2010, and those tend to have a different failure, which is mainly a lifter failure. I mean, these do it too, but not quite as often. And as far as lifters go, all the rollers on these lifters are beautiful. They work perfect. They have good wear pattern on them. They're not wearing weird. Um, they all roll really nice. And they're good all the way around. And these, as far as these guys, they weren't turned in the board. None of these are cracked. So these are good too. I on my our 2010 Pursuit, one of these was cracked and the lifters were actually turned in the bore and marred up the cam really bad because the lifter was riding like this on the cam instead of like this. So that's fun. But these look okay. And if you want to keep track of what order your lifters are in, because you're going to reuse the camshaft, which we're going to do on this because it's good. There's no reason to spend $400 or $500 when it's good, unless you want to hop it up. And we're not going to hop this one up. I'm just going to put it back to stock. So, use a box. You just use a box, and where's my drill? You use a box. You grab a step bit, and you just the holes in the box, and you put the lifters in them. And you keep it in order exactly how they came out, so you can put them back in exactly how they came out, which is very important if you're reusing the cam and lifters. And I orientate the box for me because I'm a dummy. So I have it orientated just like the car here. So these lifters are the front, these are the back of the engine. And side to side, same thing, orient them exactly how the car is. And I even write on it. So it's really dummy proof. Driver's side, the front of the engine, and the passenger side. And same story over here. All these lifters are good. They all roll. I'm going to go through them kind of fast because you get the point. You know, we don't need to spend 5 years figuring the lifters. But this, same story as the other side. No cracks. None of the lifters were turned in the bores, so I'm not worried about the cam. The cam is completely fine. The MDS lifters are completely fine. So we're going to put them back in there. The only thing I may do is I might shut MDS off in the computer, but I also might leave it on, which is cylinder deactivation, because it can cause, I've seen them prematurely fail more often with it turned on than it turned off. But that's it. That's the engine. The only other thing I noticed on this 06 RT, and this has nothing to do with the engine issue at all, but if you look right here, the motor mounts are nice, snug, tight, like they should be. This side, this bolts out, which is fine, because I think it's just they forgot to tighten it in the past when they were working on the car. Maybe they replaced the motor mount or whatever. But I'm going to tighten that while I'm in here. I'm also going to dump out the cats to make sure there's no like little pieces of valve seat in there. And I think there is, actually. I think you can kind of see little chunks sitting way down there. I think I see little pieces of lifter down in there sitting on the screen. So we'll dump those out. Make sure those aren't in there. Not that it's really possible. I don't think it's possible for them to come back into the engine, but I don't want to find out the hard way. I don't think they can, but I also don't want them rattling around in the cats. So, health inspection, she's good. Our $1,000 RT is going to be salvageable. We only paid $1,000 for the car, so even if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. But it's going to work out all right. I mean, we still won't have much money in this thing, and she'll be happy. I think it'll be a really good Hemi when we're done, and we could sell it for way more than $1,000, because this is the deals are out there. You just got to look. $1,000 Hemi RT 06, leather interior, heated seats, sunroof car. I mean, nice black interior, 130,000 original miles. Intakes in the back seat, obviously. and we're going to clean that intake out. There might be chunks in it too from the valve seats. 130,000 original miles. Really nice car. Beautiful. The whole body is just gorgeous. So this is either going to be added to the fleet or I'm going to sell it. So I don't know yet. We'll see. But beautiful car. You can't beat. She was asking $2,000 and she took 1,000. A lady and her son had it. And he basically put new tires on it, and then he drove it home, started making an awful noise from the hemi up here, and then he was really pissed and didn't want to see the car ever again, so he sold it because he had just put new tires on it and all that. So he was just really upset. He spent all that money and it's now hosed. But she's going to be salvageable. We'll have a few, I don't know. It's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be cheap for an RT Hemi that's completely loaded out on options, heated leather seats and everything. It's going to be cheap for that. It's just not going to be cheap at all. It's going to cost, we're probably going to have $1,500 to $2,000 more dollars invested, maybe a little less. I think I might get away with fixing this for about $1,000 or 2,000, but we'll see. 1,000 or 2,000 probably. But that's it on the 06 RT. Valve seat failure. Keep your eye out for that, because it can cost you some money if you let it go long enough for it to beat up the piston and the head. So, because then you got to do the head and the piston, and sometimes you get lucky if you don't run it much like that, and you don't even have to do this. So, he did say it started making noise when he was driving it home from getting new tires, and he just drove it the rest of the way home and then shut it off and never ran it again. So that's probably why, because he drove home. So if you shut it off right away, you may not have this much damage. You may not have to buy a head. And really, realistically, do you have to buy a head? I'm confident I can slap new seats in this. I can get a machine shop to put new valve seats in this. And we can clean out the engine really good, and it'll probably run. It just makes me feel better. It makes me feel a lot better to take care of this too, even though it'll probably run like that. No problem.